The flashing lights arrived before sunrise, and the quiet street woke up in shock. No one expected police to be called over a driveway, especially when it belonged to the man being accused. Ethan had lived in the Willow Creek HOA for 8 peaceful years. He followed the rules, waved at neighbors, and kept his lawn trimmed like everyone else. That morning, a heavy delivery truck blocked half his driveway while unloading furniture. It was temporary, legal, and unavoidable. Ethan stood nearby, ready to guide traffic if needed. But Karen from across the street had other plans. She filmed from her porch, whispering loudly about violations and authority. Within minutes, sirens echoed. 2 officers stepped out, calm but confused, listening as Karen insisted Ethan was blocking public access. Ethan quietly explained the situation, showing property lines and delivery receipts. The officers nodded, apologized, and left. Karen watched in silence, eyes burning with something deeper than anger. What Ethan didn't know was that she wasn't done. She believed power came from complaints, not truth. And that belief was about to push the HOA into a decision that would change everything. By sunset, emails were already being drafted, and whispers moved faster than facts. The neighborhood felt tense, like a storm forming without clouds. Ethan locked his door that night, unaware that the real conflict had only just begun. And that the next 24 hours would expose more than just bad behavior. Something far bigger was coming. By morning, Ethan's inbox was flooded with HOA notices marked urgent. Karen hadn't just complained, she had escalated everything. She claimed repeated violations, false obstruction, and unsafe behavior. None of it was true, but the volume was loud enough to get attention. The HOA board scheduled an emergency review without even calling Ethan first. Rumors spread across lawns and sidewalks. Some neighbors avoided eye contact. Others whispered sympathy but stayed quiet. Ethan felt the familiar weight of unfair judgment, yet he remained calm. He gathered documents, photos, delivery timestamps, and city codes. He believed truth mattered. Meanwhile, Karen walked confidently, telling anyone who listened that she had finally handled him. She spoke like the decision was already made. That confidence came from years of intimidation working in her favor. But what Karen didn't realize was that Ethan had already submitted a formal request for a full review, including body cam confirmation from the police visit. The board hesitated when they saw it. Suddenly, the story didn't look so simple. Questions formed. Timelines didn't match. One board member noticed Karen had filed similar complaints before. Patterns began to appear. Still, the board decided to hold a meeting that evening. Karen smiled when she got the invite. Ethan simply prepared. As the sun dipped lower, tension filled the community hall. Chairs lined up. Papers stacked. And for the first time, Karen would have to face facts instead of assumptions. The room felt quiet, but something heavy sat in the air, waiting to drop. The meeting started politely, but the mood shifted fast. Karen spoke first, confident and loud, rehearsed like a performance. She described danger, disrespect, and imagined authority. Some heads nodded. Then Ethan stood. Calm. Measured. Respectful. He didn't argue, he presented evidence. Photos showed property lines. Emails confirmed delivery approval. Police reports clarified there was no violation. Silence replaced murmurs. The board watched the footage Karen never expected them to see. Her tone changed. Her confidence cracked. One board member asked why she called police without speaking to Ethan first. Another asked about her history of complaints. Karen deflected, blaming concern and responsibility. But facts stacked up. The board recessed briefly. When they returned, the air felt different. The chair cleared his throat and addressed the room. Ethan was cleared of all accusations. The complaint was labeled unfounded. Karen stiffened. Then came the unexpected pause. The board explained that misuse of emergency services and repeated false reports violated HOA conduct rules. A formal review into Karen's behavior was opened. Gasps echoed softly. Karen stood frozen, unable to speak. She had never imagined the rules applying to her. The meeting ended without shouting, without drama, just consequences. Ethan walked home under the streetlights feeling lighter but uncertain. He knew something had shifted. Power had changed hands quietly. But the final decision wasn't made yet. The board still had one move left, and by morning, it would shock the entire neighborhood. The next day, an official notice appeared on every doorstep. It wasn't about Ethan. It was about accountability. The HOA announced new enforcement actions based on abuse of reporting systems. Karen's name wasn't hidden. The message was clear and firm. Her privileges were temporarily suspended pending review. Pool access, voting rights, committee roles, all paused. Neighbors reread the notice in disbelief. Some felt relief. Others felt guilt for staying silent. Karen stayed inside all day. Curtains closed. Her phone silent. Ethan didn't celebrate. He simply went about his routine, parking freely in his driveway, greeted by nods that felt different now, respectful. That afternoon, a board member visited him personally to apologize. They admitted mistakes, pressure, fear of complaints. Ethan accepted calmly. He asked for only one thing: fairness moving forward. By evening, the HOA sent a final update. After reviewing evidence and conduct history, Karen was officially banned from filing complaints without verification for 1 year. It wasn't revenge. It was protection. The neighborhood exhaled. Children played louder. Conversations returned. One action had broken a cycle that lasted years. And it happened because someone chose facts over fear. Karen's authority faded quietly, replaced by rules applied equally. As night fell, Ethan sat on his porch, realizing the biggest change wasn't the ban, it was the courage the community finally found. And that lesson would last far longer than any notice. Word spread beyond Willow Creek within days. Neighbors shared the story not as gossip, but as relief. People admitted they'd felt controlled for years. Karen's complaints had shaped how they lived, parked, spoke. Now, something had changed. The HOA revised policies, adding transparency and limits on emergency reporting. Meetings became open again. Ethan was invited to join a review committee, but he declined. He preferred normal life, not power. Karen eventually returned, quieter, distant, no longer feared. No one mocked her. No one confronted her. The punishment had spoken for itself. The police department sent a courtesy letter reminding residents about proper use of services. It wasn't personal, it was educational. And it worked. The community felt safer, calmer. Ethan realized the story wasn't about a driveway or a delivery truck. It was about how easily authority can be misused when unchecked. And how quickly it can be corrected when truth stands firm. The lesson moved through the neighborhood like fresh air. Speak calmly. Document facts. Don't assume power is permanent. That night, Ethan parked in the same spot Karen once pointed at. The street was quiet. No cameras. No shouting. Just peace. The kind that comes when fairness finally wins. Months later, the HOA felt like a different place. Meetings were shorter. Smiles were real. New neighbors heard the story as a reminder, not a warning. Ethan rarely spoke about it unless asked. He didn't want fame, just fairness. Karen eventually sold her home. No drama. No announcement. Just a quiet moving truck one morning. The community watched silently, not with anger, but closure. The board updated their final report, noting the incident as a turning point. They emphasized respect, communication, and accountability. What started as a false complaint became a lesson written into policy. Ethan received a thank you card signed by multiple neighbors. He kept it in a drawer. Not as a trophy, but a reminder that standing calmly matters. The driveway incident faded, but the impact remained. People parked without fear. Kids rode bikes freely. The HOA wasn't perfect, but it was better. And that was enough. One voice had changed the tone of an entire neighborhood. Not by shouting, but by standing still while truth moved forward. The story ended quietly, the best way real justice often does. Looking back, the lesson was simple and powerful: authority means nothing without fairness behind it. Karen called police over a driveway she didn't own, believing rules only pointed one way. 24 hours later, the same system she tried to weaponize corrected her instead. Not through anger. Not through revenge. But through evidence, patience, and accountability. Ethan never raised his voice. He trusted the process and stayed steady when pressure came. And because of that, an entire HOA changed how it operated. This wasn't a story about winning, it was about restoring balance. About reminding everyone that power should protect, not intimidate. The driveway remained just a driveway. But the lesson became permanent. Communities work best when rules apply equally, and courage shows up quietly, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.